Don't worry, we're going to burn it down as well.
John Defterios is my former colleague with decades of experience. He knows OPEC more than is honest or healthy as our emerging markets editor. Now senior advisor with APCO, a communications and consultancy firm. John's in Lisbon. John, why would knowing that, if they produce more, price goes down, but they're not happy with OPEC and with their quota?
All right, yeah. Situation monitoring is commencing. It's time for big monitors of the situation to join in. Obviously, many of you were excited at the prospect of us monitoring the situation, and you didn't get that taste yesterday. But the United Arab Emirates is pulling out of OPEC Plus. What does this mean? Okay, well, one, my immediate take on this was they're just fully leaning into being dogs to both Israel and America. Their assessment here is to possibly lean further into America's direction so that America can give them a credit line, get them out of this current economic downturn that they're experiencing. This is something that only benefits the United States. Okay, like OPEC Plus losing a major partner, a major oil provider in the Gulf is unbelievably unstable. It is going to draw the ire of Saudi Arabia. It's basically losing potentially one major partner, if not the most consequential partner, so that you can use the United Arab Emirates. Okay, so that you can get something out of this deal. Where OPEC cartel is no longer as stable. OPEC, for those of you who don't know, OPEC Plus is an oil cartel. Okay, that's what it is. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, an intergovernmental organization and cartel enabling the cooperation of leading oil-producing and oil-dependent countries in order to collectively influence the global oil market and maximize profit. It's a cartel. Okay. The countries, as of 2026 in OPEC, are Algeria, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon. Iran is a founding country of OPEC. Iraq is also a founder. Kuwait is another founder. Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia is another founder. United Arab Emirates is a latecomer, and Venezuela is another founder. Okay, so that's OPEC. OPEC Plus is the additional alliance, okay? There are 12 plus permanent members, OPEC members with 10 additional non-OPEC oil-producing countries, including Russia, Kazakhstan, and others in OPEC Plus. And the United Arab Emirates basically getting out of that deal means that they're going to be doing their own thing. They're not going to be held back. Like in times when, let's say, the American government is like, please produce more oil to stabilize the oil markets, to stabilize the price of a barrel of oil, and OPEC Plus, as they did with Joe Biden, can say fuck off, right? Now, what's interesting about this is that this is beneficial for America's short-term interests, I guess, short-term gain here. There is no immediate relief, though, from the United Arab Emirates leaving OPEC Plus. I have to say, I don't think the UAE's decision to leave OPEC is primarily about being able to pump more oil. It's giving the UAE's geopolitical rivalry with the Saudis for influence over the Gulf or wider region. Until this war started, that was the emergent story of the region, and it's unlikely it will reset after the war is over. They still have divergent interests and expansive foreign policy aims. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Especially because there are mechanisms already in place where you can just cheat and produce more oil if you want to. Okay, like it's incredibly stupid. I think from the UAE's perspective, this is an unbelievably stupid move because it's going to piss off Saudi Arabia. And guess what's going to happen eventually? Saudi Arabia's going to fucking invade the United Arab Emirates. Okay, it's so stupid. I feel like every decision that the United States of America has made so far in this war is basically to nuke the Gulf, okay, to render it unusable, unsalvageable. Just destroy it entirely. Who gives a fuck? So this is good for average Americans? Doesn't OPEC limit oil production to increase profits? Brother, what do you think is the actual... Okay. What do you think currently is the real problem as far as global oil prices? Do you think it's because the United Arab Emirates is simply not producing enough oil? Or do you think there's another far more consequential problem happening in the Strait of Hormuz right now? Why do we monitor the situation every day, chatter? The Strait of Hormuz is closed. It doesn't matter if the UAE is no longer a part of OPEC or OPEC Plus. Okay? It is totally irrelevant to the current problem. Okay? The UAE is backing the American horse here, thinking that America will respond in kind, thinking that America will turn the UAE into the Arab version of Israel, right? The Muslim Israel. It's not going to happen. It's an unbelievably stupid decision, in my opinion, because we already know how little America cares about the United Arab Emirates or about any of the other Gulf countries. We have watched these Gulf countries turn the American bases they have into missile sponges and then craters. Okay? That's how little they give a shit about Dubai. That's how little they give a shit about Abu Dhabi. That's how little they give a shit about all of the Emirates. United or not. Okay? So for these fucking dipshits to turn around and be like, oh, well, if we lean even further into America, perhaps they will protect us, is an unbelievably stupid decision to make when all of the evidence so far has shown that they do not give a fuck about you, dog. It's crazy.
Why would they do something so destructive to OPEC and in such a fashion like today?
I don't think they see it, Richard, as destructive. I spoke to one senior advisor to the UAE in the last 2 hours. He said, let's describe it as strategic.
They really don't have a choice, though? Wait, what? Yes, they do. What the fuck are you talking about? Leaning into pre-existing fucking commitments is actually, like, leaning into pre-existing regional commitments is probably a much smarter long-term solution for stability than leaning into the guys that have caused this current iteration of the conflict. It's an incredibly dumb decision. Anyway,
autonomy, the ability to make its own decisions going forward. This has been in the kind of the rumor mill for the last 3 or 4 years, and the UAE was actually considering making this decision beforehand. For those of us who like to read the smoke signals, and I just came back from the region this morning. I was in the UAE and Riyadh for the last week. I heard hints of a realignment by the UAE, and I would kind of lean in and suggest this may be the first of other decisions by the UAE going forward. I think the smoke signals were the fact that there was a GCC summit in Jeddah today. The president of the UAE did not attend. He sent the foreign minister / deputy prime minister to that meeting. So many read a lot into that this decision was happening on the day of the GCC summit. And I think, Richard,
it's not a good development, but UAE is doing what's right in their financial interest. I think it's an unbelievably stupid decision for long-term consequences. I think it's going to have terrible long-term consequences. It's going to backfire. That's what I think.
Cuffed in this current situation, as Suhail Mazrui was suggesting in his interview, they've made a lot of contributions, but a lot of sacrifice, and being capped at 3.4 million barrels a day. Just think about this number here, at 3.3 million.
I'm telling you right now, I think Saudi Arabia, the moment that they get a fucking chance to do this, I think Saudi Arabia is just going to invade. And if you think I'm crazy about this, buddy, they literally almost invaded Qatar, okay? And they were supposed to do that alongside the United Arab Emirates, ironically enough, but they're fucking crazy. Saudi Arabia's gonna be like, okay, we're annexing the United Arab Emirates. It's gonna be really united now.
Barrels a day at $90 a barrel. They make a lot less than they would at 5 million barrels a day. In fact, it's a 50 billion.
Fuck's the UAE gonna do, bro? Hire more Colombian mercenaries? Flip their phone extra hard for aura farming videos?
Dollar difference between 3.3 and 5 million barrels.
Saudi pop is 30 million. They're flat as fuck. The US would destroy them. What? You think the United States would fucking stop that from happening? They'd be like, if you give us a more favorable deal on oil contracts, you could do whatever the fuck you want. Use them like a fleshlight.
That's the bottom line.
Okay, two things though, John. Firstly, I agree. The UAE has spent a great deal of.
By the way, this 100% is of course maximally beneficial for Israel, OPEC first, and the Arab League and the GCC. This is unbelievably beneficial to Israel. This is exactly what Israel wanted. Just so you understand, a weaker Gulf is beneficial for Israel. Is easier to manipulate. Is easier to control. And I mean, a big part of the reason why the UAE is so excited at the prospect of like ripping apart OPEC and leaning into America and Israel is, you know, is so that, hold on, fuck, god damn it. Will you please play the Emirati phone flip again? No. It's terrifying. The UAE wouldn't have needed assistance from Israel and Netanyahu at a critical moment if Israel didn't drag the entire region into war with Iran. The lesson they should be learning from all this is that Israel is and has always been the biggest liability in the Middle East. Yeah, and what I cannot understand for the life of me is how they don't recognize that Israel started this conflict, right? And didn't do anything to defend the UAE. It's not like they started the conflict and they just sat idly by as your investments turn into fucking dust. And you're like, yeah, these are the reliable partners, I think. You're never going to be Israel, little bro. You're too brown, okay? You're too Arab. You're too Muslim. These guys are never going to be like, okay, you're the new Israel now. It's just not going to fucking happen. It's so stupid. And there's no better example that you will never be Israel than the treatment that you've gotten thus far. Mike Huckabee's out here being like the Greater Israel Project is the most important thing, is the most consequential thing. You don't have the same runway. You don't have the zealots. You don't have the evangelical Zionists and their unbelievable fervor in defense of your interests. Like, it's just not going to happen. There's no equivalence here.
Money on its infrastructure, and it's invested hugely and wants to get a return. But its cost of production is relatively low overall. Getting that money back, isn't this about getting market share at the cost of other OPEC members by doing this? But the risk, of course, is that if not a price collapse, you certainly have a downward pressure because of your pumping more.
Well, actually, I think this fits into a very interesting discussion about how long oil demand will stay high. Before this conflict that we saw in the Strait of Hormuz, demand was projected at 104 million barrels a day. I think this fits into the category of make hay while the sun is shining, Richard. The UAE sits on about 9% of proven reserves. They see demand holding up for at least till 2040, about 100 million barrels a day. But you see some projections that demand will drop to 80 million barrels a day by 2050. So they're saying, let's front load it right now, have the freedom to do so. And also, Richard, under the CEO, the group CEO of ADNOC, Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, taking instructions from the president of the UAE, they wanted to invest billions of dollars, not only in raw crude and having a trading division, but
Scoop, Israel sent Iron Dome system and troops to UAE during war. Yeah, that really worked out. fucking awesome how well that worked out. Unbelievable shit, dude. Plus, who wins OPEC nations at UAE? That ain't gonna go well, pissing off the only people who were your allies in the region at the time when America would happily bomb them for a clip montage. I know. America did functionally bomb them for a clip montage. And the reason why I say that is because America used their soil to bomb Iran, effectively turning their soil into territory that is a territory that's inevitably going to receive blowback from Iran.
To go downstream into petrochemicals where there's higher margins.
Okay.
So they don't want to be constrained by OPEC or OPEC plus for that matter.
Right, but ultimately, John, I mean, that's a very interesting point you raise about front loading. It's, as you say, make hay while the sun shines now. But the US becoming essentially the swing producer because it's so vast in its energy. And you are essentially going to end up with internet.
I watch this guy all the time now, dude. Glenn Deason. He is the guy that all of my goats love going on the show of. Like, Mersheimer's on his show literally all the time, like once a week, if not twice a week. Same with Jeffrey Sachs, and now Richard Wolff as well. This is what you know how you guys ask me, like, what do you do when you're not live? Like, this is what I'm such a fucking loser, man. I realize how much of a goddamn loser I am when I openly say these things. But yeah, this is what I'm fucking doing when I'm not live. I'm watching this guy interview my goats, thinking why my goats aren't coming on my stream instead. Oh, the other one is, Judge Neapolitano. Yes. What is it, like the Freedom Report or something? They love going on Hog Napolitano's show. That is like the number one spot for all of the geopolitical commentary. Hang out with friends more, dude. Yeah, Judging Freedom. Thank you. That's the show. Yeah, Michael Hudson was on recently. On Glenn Deason or whatever his name is, his show. Your news autism is unparalleled. Put me down. No, you're going to get shook. Here's a shaking for you. You deserve this shake. Anyway. Let's keep going.
And warfare within the oil-producing countries of the Gulf. And everything that OPEC was originally designed to create is going to fall apart.
Well, you raise a very interesting point. There have been strains within OPEC ever since the shale revolution taking place. So you see the U.S.
A double spike day. I don't believe in my 20 years I've ever seen this. 479, then updated to 499. Unprecedented. What's even more wild, that the market has completely gone insane, is that all three markets are the same. Is this good? Is this good, guys? For years, I have lived in awe of the... Oh, yeah. Napolitano's hairline is unbelievable. He is a fucking one head, dude. My man has a preceding hairline. Yeah. Not a receding hairline, a proceeding hairline. It's incredible. He's so awesome. He looks like he would be cast in Casino. I'm watching Casino right now.
Being the number one producer in the world, last month it was producing 13.5 million barrels a day. That's above Russia. It's above Saudi Arabia.
3 days in, no well exploded. We could extend to 30 and live stream the well here. That was the kind of junk advice the U.S. admin gets from people like Scott Bessent, who also pushed the blockade theory and cranked up oil to $120. Next up, 140. The issue isn't the theory, it's the mindset. Galabaf is probably one of the best posters. I never thought in my life where I would be tuning in alongside millions of Americans to the Speaker of the Islamic Republic of Iran's parliament to hear what kind of funny takes he has about the ongoing war effort. Incredible poster. Whoever is on his team, they're doing it. They're doing the damn thing.
Number 2, number 3 in the world. That has profoundly changed the dynamics within OPEC right now. Right. And I know that the UAE position has been, Richard, why are we sacrificing when the U.S. is getting more market share? You talked about the low-cost producer. Onshore, we're looking at about $2 a barrel in the UAE. It's a low-carbon producer as well in terms of carbon capture and being efficient in that way, and $4 offshore. So I think their view is, why don't we have that independence right now?
Yeah. It's great. It's great. Thank you. You're so right. Famously, when you're a part of a cartel, you don't get the maximum benefits. It's actually much better when you align yourself with a competitive oil giant like the United States of America. This is going to be really good for the United Arab Emirates. There is no upside here in the long term for the UAE. Of course, the American guy is going to be like, this is great. This is fantastic. They've been cheating us for years and years with this OPEC bullshit of their fucking cartel.
Also, one other point here is they're not really happy at the pace the GCC is moving right now. They have a very different strategy, Richard, and that is, for example, on free trade. The UAE has signed 36 trade partnerships because the GCC hasn't moved fast enough. So I think both with the GCC and the Arab League, we should start thinking differently of how the UAE sees that relationship and sees its future. That's some of the discussions I've had over the last 7 days.
Great. John, good to see you, sir. Thank you very much.
So joining me now is Faisal Abbas. He's the editor-in-chief of Arab News. Good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Pleasure to be with you, Audie. Thank you.
So I think most of us hear about OPEC because it has such a say in the global supply. What does it mean when a country leaves? What can they take advantage of as a result? And does it actually affect the supply for the rest of us?
Well, look, to start with, it is, the United Arab Emirates is a sovereign state. It is absolutely their decision. To broadly define what OPEC does, it's a coalition of the willing, if you want.
The UAE only gets the benefit if everyone else remains in OPEC and abides by their pumping limits. As long as that happens, they get to sell more oil at higher prices. But if more people start to leave OPEC or they increase allowed pumping, it's worse for all of them. Yeah, that's kind of a thing that you decide when that's kind of a decision that you make in the in-group. I mean, we're now doing game theory. Professor Jiang. You are absolutely in a more beneficial position if you stay within the cartel. I mean, I don't personally give a shit whether the OPEC remains, like whether OPEC plus remains intact or not. I don't personally fucking care. I'm just thinking about this from the perspective of like the Emirati sovereignty and like what their best interest would look like. And I don't think it is a prisoner's dilemma. I don't think it's an intelligent decision in the short term or even in the long term.
Countries coming together to try and stabilize energy markets. That is the core purpose of OPEC. This is why there are regulations in place. There are production caps. Sometimes they increase production. Sometimes they lower productions.
Brent crude at 120. We are so fucking cooked. We will. It's going to go up even higher, just so you know.
And the main aim is to stabilize the energy markets. As for the UAE deciding to leave, as I said earlier, it is their...
What's the difference between a cartel and a union? One is a cartel is the business owners getting together and doing that. Union is the workers.
Sovereign right. There has been precedent.
But yes, a cartel is basically when business owners unify. You're scum. Business owners unite. You're scum. Okay. Why am I scum? These guys never have a fucking... They never have a good comeback where they'll just be like, because you're a terrorist, I think. I don't know. There she goes. U.S. commercial petroleum inventories fell by a headline 17 million barrels plus another 7.1 million barrels of SPR crude draws. Vindicated Jeffrey Sachs L. No, Jeffrey Sachs will say this is a market correction.
Of other countries leaving OPEC, including countries from the GCC. But, as I'm coming to you today from London, where I happen to be visiting, it's the equivalent of the United Kingdom deciding to leave.
This is entering the zone that Jeffrey Sachs was talking about. The situation is untenable at $120 a barrel, so hot war has to be back on the menu. Or the alternative, which is, retreating. Because we are forgetting that there is an alternative here. I know it sounds unbelievable, but the alternative is just pulling out. And I think, given the attitude and given the way that Donald Trump, behaves in a taco-like manner, as we call, Trump always chickens out, I could totally see Donald Trump just being like, all right, war is done, we won, pull out, and leave the Strait of Hormuz. And just make it seem like there was a deal in place, but there's no real fucking deal in place. And they just let Iran control the Strait of Hormuz and create, bilateral cooperative agreements with all the regional actors, with the European partners and whatnot. And it's not like Israel is going to continue fucking waging war with Iran directly, but Israel will probably still attack the proxies. And then balls in Iran's court, do you go back to, pummeling Israel? Now, from Israel's calculation, they can't really wage war if there is a Iranian retaliation in mind when America is not there to defend Israel. So this could force Israel into restraint somehow, but I don't know. But I can totally see it. I can totally see Donald Trump just saying, all right, fuck it. We won, and pull out. No more blockage on the strait. No more American Navy blockage or blockade on the strait. We won. It was awesome. We did regime change, whatever. And then they just fucking pull out. Putting Iran in a unique predicament where they are in limbo. They can't get the sanctions relief that they wanted. They have leverage over the Strait of Hormuz, but they don't want to piss off the rest of the world, right? And I think America just says, yeah, we won. It was a big W, actually. And then all the fucking dumbest people in American society turn around and tell you, yeah, we did it. And then the Democrats say, no, we have to wage war with Iran now. Democrats take a fucking pro-Iran war posture because they just don't know how to talk about this issue at all. Rick Scott seen at Mar-a-Lago on his way to beg Trump to jail Hassan. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Okay, thank God you were memeing. Jesus Christ. I thought you were being serious. Because if Rick Scott is going to Mar-a-Lago, Trump is going to tweet that I need to be killed or something, just so you know.
some of this rhetoric mainstream to fringe elements now that have now gone mainstream within the left. What would you say about the way we're hearing rhetoric and conversation in politics?
Will Cain, who has talked about me every single day, even asks a question to the vice president about me without mentioning my name, luckily. Thank God. Oh, Jesus Christ, dude. What a fucking stupid country this is.
Well, I think you said it well, Will. I can't improve upon it, which is that political violence right now is coming not exclusively, but largely from one side of the aisle. The president has now faced 3 serious attempts on his life in just the past year and a half. Of course, Butler, Pennsylvania. There was a situation at Mar-a-Lago that the media didn't really cover.
I know he mentioned Kaya. He mentioned Kaya Gate. Now, Trump says Ukraine and Iran wars are maybe on a similar timetable. Oh, no. Oh, no. That means it's forever. That means it's totally forever.
But which war do you think ends first?
That's an interesting question. You know, coming from you, that's very interesting. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar timetable. I think Ukraine, militarily, they're defeated, okay? You wouldn't know that by reading the fake news, but militarily, look, their Navy. So they had 159 ships. Every ship is right now underwater. Typically, that's pretty good. What do you think, Jared? I mean, it's going to be hard for them to make a naval comeback. Okay, now they have an Air Force. Every one of their planes has been shot down or has been decimated. They have missiles. About 82% are gone. And they have drones, and most of them are gone. Most of the factories are mostly gone. And we have tremendous anti-drone equipment now, between lasers and that new, very special machine gun that knocks them out of the air like flies. And we use bullets instead of $1 million, missiles to knock out a $30,000 drone. So I would say Jared would tell me that with everything you just heard, typically we're in pretty good shape. And in addition, their economy is crashing. Their, as you know, their money, they call it their money. They don't have a name for it. Their money is valueless. They've got inflation that nobody's ever seen before. Other than that, I think they're doing quite well. If you read the New York Times, you'd say they're doing wonderfully because it's fake news. Or if you watch CNN, I mean, you cover it all the time. You think they're doing well. Do you think they're doing well where they have no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft apparatus, other than what they may have put there? They may have brought in some light stuff during the ceasefire, and we know exactly where it is, so it'll be knocked out within the first 15 minutes.
Your budget.
Imagine going to space just to end up a prop for a pedophile. Yeah, it's not the greatest, not the finest moment of our big, beautiful astronauts. I'm gonna be honest. Looks like the Gerald Ford CSG will be leaving the Red Sea in a few days. 2 CSGs, carrier strike groups, remain in CENTCOM's AOR. U.S. aircraft carrier to leave Mideast, reducing military might amid Iran war. Okay, yeah, no, I think it's the funniest possible option might happen, which is they just pull out. They just fuck off. We're just going to fuck off. And we're like, yep, we won. Trump flax massaging their Axios towel boy for the next Iran deal is near drop. Hasan, we won. It's over. It's over. It's over. We won. We won. We won so good. There's no way that we can hold on at oil barrel prices getting up to $140. It's just not happening. Do you understand? It's not fucking happening.
Europe, it's completely within their right, and they must have done their own calculations and costs and benefits.
But I want to know the context of this. We have the Strait of Hormuz effectively closed with this blockade on both sides. We have Saudi-UAE tensions, right, in the regions. Maybe they've always wanted to leave. And then just this morning, pretty much while you and I are talking, Donald Trump puts out this tweet, and it's an image of him, and it says, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." The image is doctored with him with a weapon in his hand. He says Iran can't get its act together, and that they don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon. This does not say to me that talks will resume soon, the Strait of Hormuz will open again, and oil will flow.
Well, I mean, allow me to unpack that. There's a lot there. First of all, you're rightly pointing out that some people might be reading that there is possibly geopolitical tensions behind the decision of the UAE leaving.
I just want to say that, we used to refer to American presidents as the leader of the free world. Okay? Just remember that, because that's going to be something that you tell your children one day, if you even have the opportunity, if you can even pay for the process. And they will look at you and go, "What the fuck are you saying, mom or dad?" Or non-binary parental representative. I don't know how that would work. There's no way that's true. This is who we are now. A slop nation. Except they'll say it like this, okay? They'll say it like this. Hold on.
"妈，你在说什么？妈，你在说什么？"
Okay. They'll say this as well.
你是想告诉我，这个世界是由美国主宰的？
You mean to tell me the world was run by America? Question mark? It's like your old uncle discovering you can say good morning with images instead of just text. Okay, calm down. Okay, I just wanted to do a fucking meme.
As I said earlier, it's purely a mathematical economic decision, and unsurprising given the post-war economy many Gulf countries now have to face. In fact, President Trump just a few days ago is on the record saying that the U.S. is considering offering the UAE financial support. There's been talks about currency swap between the Emirati dirham and the U.S. dollar. This is not surprising that the UAE wants now to make.
This is what the Roman consuls used to do when they were losing a war. Pack up, go back to Rome, declare victory. Still, even if there are no immediate consequences, eventually Hannibal crosses the Alps, and then you're screwed. Yeah, except they used to be able to get away with that when information didn't travel in real time. Okay? So that's a thing that you can't do any longer, because guess what? It's not going to spread through horseback and through the town criers. Information is spreading in real time on the internet. So when you come back and you say, "Oh yeah, we fucking totally won," like that, by the way, the speed in which information transmits is part of the reason why empires also come and go at a faster pace. I'm not even joking when I say this. This is a big part of the reason why we will most likely never see another empire that had prominence and dominated for as long as the Roman Empire did. Even the death of the Roman Empire came through multiple centuries. The death of the American Empire will happen in a decade. I'm not saying it'll happen in this decade. I'm just saying, like, we might be in it already. I think we are in it already. But that process will not take centuries. That process will not even take 1 century. When information travels faster, people figure it out way faster as well.
Decisions to help reshape its economy. 2 factors are at play here. One, as you've alluded and we've seen in the clip earlier, there's been a shortage or a limitation of the ability of Gulf countries to export oil. The UAE produces around 5 million barrels a day. That's a lot to be held, to be constrained or to be held. The other fact is, like all Gulf countries, there has been a decision that no cost or effort should be spared in protecting citizens.
So you don't think the American Empire, America will be dominating in 10 years? I don't know, man. The EU won't allow that to happen. The EU has no motion, okay? And the EU has no motion because of us anyway. Like, what are we talking about? We are the reason for the European Union being destroyed, being powerless.
And that meant, a decision to fire $4 million Patriot missile or $2 million Tomahawk missiles to bring down $20,000 Iranian drones every time they were fired, because the priority was to protect citizens and residents, not to mention the impact on tourism, on business. So it's only natural for countries to take corrective measures or take measures that it is in their best interest to help rebuild their economy in such circumstances.
Well, we'll see what that means for the cartel and therefore for global production. Thank you for this context, Faisal. Thanks so much.
Day 61 of the war. And the standoff between the United States and Iran continues over whether they will engage in meaningful peace talks anytime soon. But meanwhile, the war within a war in Lebanon still continues apace, because Israel concluded a ceasefire with Lebanon, with the Lebanese government, but not with Hezbollah. Hezbollah said they would observe the ceasefire, but not if the Israelis attacked them, and both sides have now attacked the other. And both sides are keen to show their publics that they're vigorous in this regard. The Israelis have issued an IDF, Israeli Defense Forces video, showing them destroying, they say, Hezbollah tunnels. And those tunnels you can see are...
It's fantastic ceasefire. You cease, we fire. You already know what it is.
Ribbon explosives all the way along the street. Of course, that has the effect of destroying a street full of houses, and it makes these villages pretty well uninhabitable. Meanwhile, Hezbollah have issued videos to show that they are engaged in modern warfare using drones, and here an FPV drone, first-person view drone, looks as if it's going in on an APC, an armored personnel carrier of the Israeli forces, and there it is. Hits the carrier and explodes. What this is all about, of course, is Israel's determination to have a security zone across the south of Lebanon. And their security zone is about 5 kilometers in onto Lebanese territory, and they want complete control in that
Certified
security zone.
Zeta male, thank you.
And then they want influence, predominant influence in the area right up to the Litani River. And that's what they're working towards. That's what Hezbollah is trying to stop them having. The village of Dibel is quite interesting.
35% off for gift subs, more than 5, by the way. Thank you for informing me, chatter. That's right, 35% off, 5+ gifted subs, level 3 hype train at 70%. Support independent media, support the Piker Broadcasting Service, support the People's Broadcasting Service, PBS, the only one true PBS, by subscribing and gifting subs so that everyone can take advantage of the rewind function when they're watching, if they're subscribed from a desktop. If you are subscribed to the Piker Broadcasting Service, you can also take advantage of the amenities such as being able to send me links. There's no guarantee I'll click on them, but the PBS, Piker Broadcasting Service, People's Broadcasting Service, will never run ads. It's sponsored by you, the people, for you, the people. Thank you. PBS, Piker Broadcasting Service, for tomorrow's news today.
Christian village.
Yes, I'm going to be on Joy Reid's show as well while I'm live, and then after that, in a little bit, I will be on Joy Ann Reid's show, And then after I'm on Joy Henry's show, I will travel over to the gym to go meet for meet with Chiose. We'll be talking about deed theft and a bunch of other stuff. You know, all good stuff. Jam-packed today. You already know what it is.
And in the last week, Israeli
Burley
forces have been
230
seen desecrating a
and
Christian
Carberry,
statue,
thank
of
you
destroying civilian
for the
infrastructure, of hitting out
HasanAbi Jr.
at solar panels and destroying them.
I think they did this in the village as punishment for being called out for doing the symbolic Jesus Christ statue. For destroying the Jesus Christ statue they got yelled at. This is that village where they're destroying the solar panels, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong.
It looks as if IDF soldiers are out of control. Almost certainly they are. But equally, it occurs to a lot of people that this is a quiet strategy of making
gifted
these
subs
villages, even the
are
Christian villages
discounted
that they have no
during the
problem
hype
with,
train.
uninhabitable.
35% off, 5 plus gifted subs.
Depopulating this zone. Now, the Israelis say it's their security zone, so they have to have freedom of movement in that zone. We'll see how that argument turns out. Meanwhile, in the United States, President Trump, during the state visit, has made it very clear. He said the Iranians want a deal, and the Iranians want the Strait of Hormuz open. Well, in a sense, they are open, in that they're not as closed as the Americans say they are. When we look at the latest 24-hour tracker, we can see a number of vessels taking the long route round towards Larak Island to avoid what we think of as
Terry
a minefield.
Mackey, thank you for 25.
And over any 48-hour period, according to all the professional trackers, something between 12 and 16 big vessels have moved in and out of the straits. And that's only those with their trackers on. Lots of them have turned their trackers off and are getting in and out of the straits. And the fact is that the American blockade is not actually as effective as the Americans say it is.
Stingray JM with 100 bones. God damn.
Because American
the anti-corporatists,
forces
thank you,
are actually 300 miles away in the Arabian Sea. And so although they can see what's going on...
oh, yeah, New York Times statue says that it was in Devil. Sky News are saying the solar panels were also in Devil. Yeah, so I was right. They did punish the village by destroying the solar panels in that village because they were mad that they got fucking called out for it.
Around the Strait of Hormuz. They can't do very much about it.
Unbelievably petty, like childlike bully country with nuclear arms.
And so here we are. The war is on hold. The Lebanese part of the war is getting worse. And we are waiting for the United States and Iran to re-engage in peace talks or go back to their more all-out concept of the war. Either way, I think we'll...
There is a new flag.
Anyway, we got the Trump-Kimmel clash as well. But there's more. Oh, yeah, by the way, speaking of which, Israel is the global Samud flotilla says some of its vessels were approached by military speedboats identifying as Israeli with lasers and semi-automatic weapons aimed at the passengers. Organizers said those on board were ordered to the front and onto their hands and knees. Communications were jammed and SOS was issued, according to the group. Oh, shit. Hello?
Flashpoint between the Trump administration and the media. The Federal Communications Commission has ordered a review of the broadcast licenses for stations owned by ABC. This came one day after the president and the first lady demanded ABC fire late-night host Jimmy Kimmel.
I gotta pee.
Ed O'Keefe has more.
The FCC says it's investigating ABC and its owner, the Walt Disney Company, for possible violations of the agency's prohibition on unlawful discrimination. On a podcast Tuesday, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr called out Disney's diversity, equity, and inclusion practices.
And there's evidence suggests that Disney, literally was, dividing and categorizing employees based on race and gender.
In a statement, Disney said ABC and its stations have a long record of operating in full compliance with FCC rules.
Another weird day. There is so much nonsense.
The FCC review comes a day after President Trump and the First Lady called on ABC to fire late-night host Jimmy Kimmel for this joke he made in a mock roast of the president on his program last Thursday.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
On Monday, Kimmel defended the joke he made before the shooting Saturday at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, attended by the president.
It was not, by any stretch of the definition, a call to assassination, and they know that.
And Tuesday, after the president said this about his parents,
They were married for 63 years. And excuse me, if you don't mind. That's a record we won't be able to match, darling.
Late last night, Kimmel responded.
Only Donald Trump would demand I be fired for making a joke about his old age and then a day later go out and make a joke about his own old age.
It's unclear how long the FCC review may take, but Disney says it is confident ABC and its stations remain qualified to hold on to those broadcast licenses, and Disney is, quote, prepared to show that through the appropriate legal channels. Nate?
All right, Ed, thank you. So in the wake of President Trump's third assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the left is not dialing back. Watch.
The president has had a part of that, okay? I mean, he's had responsibility in the rhetoric, and he should own that.
I put a lot of it at the feet of the Trump administration for a lot of the things that they've done.
But all of this Mad King behavior...
I like that they're not even hiding that, you know, any kind of criticism of Trump is now a death threat. Like, they're just openly showing clearly normal, moderate, sometimes tepid criticisms of Trump as people fomenting violence and death threats against the president. They're like, wow, this, can you believe it? This guy said Trump is responsible for higher prices at the pump. He obviously wants the president to be murdered. Incredible.
All of these obsessions, that's what Trump occupies himself with now.
But look, Trump is running this country like an authoritarian dictator, not like a democratically elected president of a constitutional republic.
The wannabe king stood with an actual king right by his side. Sometimes the imagery is just, it's a little too on the nose.
All right, meanwhile, controversial influencer Hasan Piker posting on X, quote, if the president doesn't want to be called a Nazi, perhaps he should stop behaving like one. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Controversial streamer on X. Thank you for posting my bars on the Fox News broadcast. Bro, they are on my dick, bro. It is crazy. They are dick eating. Okay? This is dick eating on levels previously thought unfathomable. Do you think Bob sees this? Yes, and he gets so mad. I wonder how Bob feels about that he knows personally such a dangerous terrorist, you know? I got Viet food.
Let's bring in Michael Knowles, host of the podcast, the Michael Knowles podcast.
Michael
Michael, I know
Knowles.
you're at the big Turning Point event last night. We'll get to that. But just your thoughts about, because I'm sure you weren't watching those channels. We watched for you. So your thoughts about what you just heard.
Well, I wonder why we would point our finger at Hasan Piker for not dialing back the rhetoric when J.B. Pritzker, governor of Illinois and a leading Democrat presidential candidate, said basically the same thing. Gavin Newsom, for that matter, in California, said basically the same thing as Hasan Piker. So we know that this extreme, radical, violent rhetoric from the left is not just a fringe phenomenon. Last April, there was an NCRI survey showed that 56% of left-leaning, that is left of center, not radical, correspondents said that they would justify the assassination of President Trump. After the assassination of Charlie Kirk, we discovered from YouGov that very liberal respondents were 8 times as likely to justify political violence against the right as very conservative correspondents were against the left. So this is a mainstream phenomenon on the left. That's a very difficult pill for us to swallow, but with the rhetoric from the elected officials, the leading media figures, and ordinary respondents on the left, I don't see what other conclusion we can reach.
Yeah, right, so Americans were asked in a poll, about violence. 2 in 10 Americans agree violence may be needed to save the country. And the younger you are, the higher those numbers get. So between the rhetoric not slowing down and the sentiment being seen in those numbers, I'm not optimistic it's going to be a quiet year.
Certainly not. You just look at the midterm candidates, the congressmen, the senators. You mentioned Hasan Piker, this streamer who has called for the murder of Republican senators, who has been overt in his calls for violence against conservatives. He's campaigning with these guys. And so there's really no distinction in the Democrat Party. In fact, you heard this yesterday on NPR. The host and the guest were analyzing the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooter. And they said, you know, looking at his posts, his rhetoric isn't all that radical. That is to say, he sounds a lot like us. And that is a damning and stunning conclusion. But I think it's an accurate one.
How about, Michael, that they didn't realize it? Like they didn't realize the foul.
No, they do. Why would they? See, that's the difference between NPR and Fox News. No matter how fucking biased NPR might be on certain issues like foreign policy related, they're still going to do proper analysis, even if it makes them look bad. Something that, you know, Fox News is never going to fucking do in a million years.
Of their words.
I suppose that amid all of their blather, all of their incessant hyperbolic rhetoric, they've never heard their own words and the language that they only continue to ratchet up.
Yeah, so let's talk about last night. The place was packed. Your thoughts. You've been to so many of these events before. You've been one of the stalwarts, especially since Charlie's assassination. Tell me about the mood.
It was so encouraging here in Moscow, Idaho. The venue, which was the biggest venue we could find, was absolutely packed. I'm sorry to say we had to turn 1,000 people away, over 1,000 people at the door, some of whom we were able to meet outside the venue. The kids in the room were so unbelievably dialed in, focused, serious. Brian, you and I spend a lot of time looking at the media and things look pretty bleak. But out there on the ground in a normal part of America, the future looked very, very bright. This is exactly the kind of thing that Charlie was doing. This is why I think it is wonderful that Erica and the leadership of TPUSA have continued this speaking tour. They've done a wonderful honor to Charlie's legacy, and all the people who turned out last night did Charlie very, very proud.
And I'm sure you did too. Matt Walsh, I saw was there, and you talked a lot about the enthusiasm on the right. Will it be there, being that Democrats are out of power and usually have the momentum? Iowa's going to be very contested, especially in that Senate race, and that's where you were. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Michael Knowles. Thanks for getting up early.
Great to be with you, Brian.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
I want to start with the 2024 autopsy, which you call an...
Okay, this is I'm going to issue a trigger warning. You're going to watch someone get fucked on camera right now. This is head of the DNC, Ken Martin, on Pod Save America, where Jon Favreau is asking the appropriate questions, as a matter of fact, and he doesn't let up. It's ridiculous. This interview is ridiculous.
After action review, when you won the chairmanship in February of 25, you criticized the DNC's refusal to release their 2016 autopsy as exactly what not to do. You said, quote, was there any utility in doing that? And then promised your 2024 autopsy would be different. Your exact quote was, of course it will be released. Why did you change your mind on that?
Well, look, I mean, what I said all along, even when I ran for this position, is that we were going to focus on the things that will help us win the upcoming election, right? Making sure that we learn the right lessons that could help inform our victories. And that's what we've done. We said this when we sent out the press release back in November, saying we weren't going to release the report. We were going to actually keep our focus on those lessons. And we released those lessons. We continue to do that. So it's not completely accurate to say that we didn't release that.
Dude, it is so bad. This is so bad that I think it's like low-key indefensible. by even like centrist accounts. Obviously, there's still like weird ass DNC defenders on the timeline doing their thing, where they turn around and defend the interests of the DNC, even though they're not paid to do so. And I will never understand what leads someone to behave like that. But for the most part, with the exception of like some of the craziest people, most people are looking at this and going, what the fuck do you mean you can't release the autopsy? Just release it, man. It doesn't make any... I mean, the only way this makes sense is because they're worried that the autopsy says exactly what I've been saying leading up to the election and certainly after the election. Israel's a huge part of the reason why they lost.
We're keeping our focus is on the lessons that can actually help us win.
On this show in August, you told me this about releasing the review, quote, "We have to do it to give people who invested so much time, energy, and money a sense of what happened and why we lost." Especially why we lost. So what changed between August and December? I understand there are lessons, but those are not the full report. Why not release the full report? What's in the report that you wouldn't want to publicize?
Yeah, there's no smoking gun in the report, and I know that's what everyone's so eager to learn. The smoking gun. Guess what, John?
But if there's no smoking gun, why wouldn't you just release it then?
Because we want to keep the focus on the lessons. Because what ends up happening here is that
it's boring. We just don't want you to fall asleep reading it. You'd be so bored reading the lack of smoking gun. What is this? Oh, yeah, I did see that. Yeah, we watched it live. Yeah, it was incredible. Trump, he still got it sometimes.
People, of course, want to weaponize the report in a way to look backwards, to point fingers, place blame in a way that actually doesn't keep us focused on the upcoming election. But instead, the navel-gazing of focusing backwards actually takes us backwards. We're 189 days from this election, John. What we don't need to be focused on is actually relitigating 2024. What we need to do is learn the lessons of 24 and the years preceding that can help us win this upcoming election. I get why people are obsessed with it, because there's various groups and organizations and people who think there's some sort of smoking gun in there. Guess what, John? In the third closest presidential election in the last 100 years, everything mattered. There's nothing that didn't impact that election.
Why did you spend the money going to 50 states, doing all these interviews, doing all this stuff, and
He's like, everything mattered, not one thing. There wasn't one particular thing. John, believe me, it was everything. It was tort reform. There's no smoking gun. There's no one singular issue that was overwhelmingly brought up as a reason.
Doing this report in the first place, if you weren't going to release the full results of it. Like, why? Well, I don't get why just you and some of the senior DNC people get to see it, but not most of the DNC members who are, state party chairs. I mean, more than a dozen DNC members told NBC just the other week they want it released, including Congresswoman Delia Ramirez and North Carolina Democratic Party Chair Anderson Clayton. And Anderson said, quote, "Genuinely, what did you all find that we did not?"
It seems to me that
Wait, where's the full one? But what the fuck happened while I was gone for a week? Why did I have Customs and Border Patrol ask me if I watch you when I returned to this shithole country this morning and got detained? Shut the fuck up. You're lying. What? There's no fucking way that you got asked. No, not the full Erica Kirk video, guys. I'm looking for the full DNC combo. Chatters, I don't care about the full Erica Kirk video. I've been detained before, but never that. How the fuck would they know that you are...
Ken Martin, thanks for doing it.
How the fuck would they know that you're a fan of mine?